where today we're going to be talking about thinking, one of the most natural actions of all, and yet many of us don't either stop to do it or even stop to realize that we are actually thinking directed towards a purpose. I'm Barbara Menino,
And I'm Christine Rothdeutsch.
and we're happy to have you here today where we want to dive deep into thinking and the thought process that we believe is so necessary in business. You know how this came up? In one of our many conversations, Christine and I were talking about our process for doing things. And what kept surfacing in that discussion was our prep work to the doing. And the more we talked, the more we realized it was all about our thinking, the way we think, how we think, because we tend to be, this is our nature, introspective people. We tend to be women who mull things over a lot. And we find that that works well in business. In fact, in that discussion, Christine pulled a book off her shelf. Lo and behold, what do you think it's called? How Successful People Think. And so, to dive deeper into thinking, Christine reread and I read the book, and we found out a lot of interesting things that validated what we were doing. Thanks for that recommendation, Christine. It's a book to keep on the shelf, earmark pages, and read over and over again.
Well, yeah, it's so funny, Barbara. This bit about thinking, and I think even before I mentioned about the book, it was more of one of my gripe sessions, shall we say, um, of things that I couldn't believe people were doing or not doing. And as I thought about this bit about thinking, I've always been one to try to figure something out before asking a question. Unlike a lot of people out there, it's just who I am. I know I'm unique, um, and I think back to when our kids were little, and they'll do something, and you're like, what were you thinking, and it starts back when you're a kid, and now as adults we got so much noise around us. I understand that, both in our business life and our personal life, and I like to take quiet time to think, and I'm thinking a lot of people don't because of the questions I hear out there. And like I say, what got me was in certain situations, in certain coaching situations where the coach is going over information and somebody might ask where to find something in the portal. And I'm like, I know this is not the right time to ask those questions. But for somebody like that, it's just easier for them. Just, you know what? I'm just, they don't want to look. They don't want to take the time. It's like, oh, they're just so confused. And they don't even listen when given instructions. I don't know about you, Barbara, but, I've been in many Zoom rooms where instructions are given, or, you're learning something and then they say, are there any questions about what we just taught? And then people are bringing up questions that are not relevant to what they just taught. And I mean, I think that's where our conversation started from. It was more of one of our gripe sessions, about people who don't think.
Well, and in the situation you described, whether it's a coaching session, whether you're on a Zoom call, you're at a retreat, attending a conference, there's usually a central theme or several themes or topics
Mhm.
that the facilitators want to get across. And that's the meat on the bones. So suddenly to start asking, how do I, where do I find this link, or how do I do that, seems ill timed. And to your point about listening, it one shows that not only are they not listening, but they might be so set on learning about a link or some of the
Mhm.
technical or more pedestrian things that they're selling themselves short because they're missing the important information that they're there for in the first place.
Mhm.
And that's how we came up with this. Wow, a good
Well,
reminder.
and Barbara, I think we need to reveal to our audience that maybe quite a few of our conversations do come from our gripe sessions that we occasionally have. And that's not to say we are not perfect by any means.
Oh, not,
Absolutely
not,
not.
not.
And it's but it's tough when you are your own boss, you are a business owner, and there's just some things that you really have to grasp. And I think this area of being a good thinker uh, really plays a big part in whether you're successful or not, I think.
You know, you talked about things being easy, and we've also mentioned the fact that in today's world, everything is fast. It's
Hmm.
going at 100 miles an hour, it's working 24/7.
Hmm.
It's accomplishing a lot of things. For a long time, maybe not so much anymore, the ability to multitask was heralded. And with that standard, we all fall prey to potentially jumping into things because of FOMO, really, because of that good old fear of missing out, that fear that we'll be late out of the starting gate. And so we start doing, doing, doing.
Hmm.
And there can be a tendency to fall in the trap of not thinking first.
Hmm.
Making decisions easily and quickly or fairly so are important. Not overthinking so that you end up procrastinating and never getting anything done. That's not the road either. But understanding that in business, especially, but even in your personal relationships, thinking before you speak or before you do pays dividends. It enables you to put yourself in the other person's shoes. It enables you to think out your actions, to establish what is the goal you want to reach, and then reverse engineer to figure out how you're going to do that. These are important things. And that quiet time on the front end of any action is essential.
Right. And I think I'm thinking that a part of the problem here is that people might be afraid to take that quiet time to think because they think they're not being productive,
Yeah, it's
that
interesting.
they have to be in active action of producing something. And I know when I start to get overwhelmed with information, it's like, yeah, time turn the computer off. You know what? I need my quiet time. And magic happens. That's when the magic happens, when you step back from all that noise. Because if you've been in business for a few years and you've had coaches and you've learned different marketing stuff and everything, it's my philosophy that you probably have what you need, and you need to look inside yourself and pull out those pieces that you already have, excuse me. um and yeah, and like I say, I think because people just think I want it fast, I want it easy, and that if I take time away, oh my goodness, I'm not being productive. Again, I'm just philosophizing here. Is that a word, philosophizing? I don't
I
know.
think so.
um
Let it go.
um because I know sometimes, even in the morning, if I say, oh, I should take some quiet time and do my meditation, and I was like, oh, but I should be doing this or I should be doing that, and then I say, but if I do the meditation, I am going to really prepare myself for the rest of the day, and that really makes a difference. But there's something about that quiet and not having input, having that stimulus in, that we're all afraid we're going to miss something, I think. I don't know.
It's very interesting that you spoke about meditation. I was speaking to someone today who's in the travel industry, and her contention, and I agree with it wholeheartedly, is that vacation, really, even more than travel, vacations are really good for your overall well being.
Hmm.
And I find, and this is a much more recent thing, but when I'm sitting at my computer, and I do that for long hours, I sometimes start wishing for special places that I've vacationed. Usually they involve the ocean or a lake. They often involve palm trees. There's often sand. There's a breeze and a special smell in the air, whether you're in the mountains or at the beach. And I close my eyes and I take maybe a minute or two of time and I take myself in my head to one of my favorite vacation spots. And do you know, when I open my eyes, even then, I'm re energized
Mm-hmm.
and can get back to work. So, thinking manifests in many, many different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why, when I found this book by John Maxwell and I started reading it, and he divides it up into so many different
Yeah,
types of thinking. I was like, okay, and some of this was like, "Huh, I'm doing that. Oh my goodness, I
yeah.
already do that, so it just, oh my, I'm on the right track here. To, well, I feel that way anytime I'm learning from somebody and they tell me to do something and I'm like, I already do that. Wow, that's neat.
Well, he made the point, and we kind of came to this conclusion ourselves, that thinking involves actions like listening to other people,
Hmm.
reading books,
Yeah.
reading articles, listening to podcasts. And so those functions involve listening, thinking that comes from listening, and learning, where you take in the thoughts and the expertise of other people and you assimilate them and you begin then to assess how those various components fit into what you're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
Learning is a very important piece of this. I think I shared with you, Christine, that I was doing an interview with a client, and he was representing the company that he worked for and speaking very highly of the company culture.
Mhm.
And he said to me, and I just thought this was a wonderful statement. He said, if people come to work here and they don't learn something new every day, they're missing out. They're not putting themselves in the game enough,
Mhm.
trying hard enough to take advantage of all the benefits around them. And that is a very good point. The idea that you have to discipline yourself. You have to learn how to take these moments and think. It
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily come to you like the snap of the fingers. Like any skill, it's something that you learn from someone else, that you teach yourself, and that you nurture and practice till it becomes natural and habitual.
Yeah. That reminds me of I have a story on taking something away. Many, many years ago, I worked for a company that we sold fence and gazebos. Yes, I sold fence. I was a fence salesperson. And I remember when it was just a small outfit, like four people in the office. And the owner had us go to a business training. I forget exactly what the theme of it was. And the young man that I worked with in the office, he's like, I don't understand why we're going to this. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. And even way back then, before I was doing my own thing, I still remember telling him that there's going to be some nugget that you can take away and just tuck it in your pocket. And in the future, you're going to pull it out and use it. And I've always felt that way. Although sometimes over the years, I've had too many nuggets of information stashed away. So that can be a problem too. But no, you have to, that's the information to take in so that when you have that time to do your thinking, there's that information. But I found it so interesting that he was like, why are we here? Why do we have to do this? And it's like too many people discount the value of attending anything, and don't understand. But I've always loved to learn too, so I just find it fascinating. But that also brings up. I have my book here. I wanted to read a real quick quote from the book, and this is not a we're not doing a review of this book, but I just wanted to share. In the introduction of John's book, he says, a person who knows how may always have a job, but the person who knows why will always be his boss. Good thinkers solve problems. They never lack ideas that can build an organization, and they always have hope for a better future. And right from the get-go, I love the guy. I love the book. It has such good information, but yeah, I think we all just need to spend some more time um, thinking and working things out instead of getting more input all the time. I don't know.
Something you said about nuggets, two things came to mind. Number one, about that young man who wasn't clear on why he should go to the learning seminar or event and what was in it for him. And your comment that tuck it away because it may be of use to you someday.
Hmm.
Thinking does involve a deep dive inward. How important it is for us all to reassess at the end of a day, at the end of a week, at the end of a month, at the end of a business quarter, what worked and what didn't.
Hmm.
And that knowledge from that kind of a think can propel you to doing more of the things that worked. And that's a step forward in growing your business. And the other thing I want to say is about the nuggets. I loved when you said there are a lot of nuggets in your head. And I had told this story about my granddaughter Clementine. She's 10 now, but 9 at the time. And I was with her after school one day, and she told me that the teacher had asked them to write down 5 thoughts that they had in her head. And there was a slight pause, and she said, Babby, I wrote down 20. And then there was a longer pause, and she said, Babby, aren't you going to ask me why I wrote down 20 instead of 5? And I said, well, of course, Clementine. I was coming to that anyway. Why did you write down 20? And she said, Babby, it's because I have so many thoughts in my head. I had to get those 20 out so I could make room for 20 more. And I thought that was not only adorable, because of course she's my grandchild, but I thought there was wisdom. And again, out of the mouths of babes.
Mm.
They oftentimes have a lot to teach us.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, when it comes from a child. Wow, more children need to think that way.
Do you have any further thoughts about the big think, Miss Christine?
No, there's just so much. I mean, we could go on and on about thinking. But for this episode, I think we are complete. Do you have any last words, or should I tell our audience what we've been thinking about?
Well, there is a surprise around the corner, but before that, just a reminder at some of the things we say can grow out of thinking, listening, learning, assessment, clarity, self-direction, and all that comes out of a good think and quiet moments. Let's never underestimate the quiet moments, and let's go for the big thing.
All right. So, Barbara and I were talking recently, and we thought, well, maybe we could talk about thinking in several different episodes of Soapbox Wisdom. And then I said, well, I think this is more of a discussion. I'd like to hear more people talking about this. And we would like to start a book club, the Soapbox Wisdom Book Club. And we will do how successful people think. Oh boy, yeah, I'm going to mess that one up again. Um, and just to let the audience know, John Maxwell talks about engage in focused thinking, harness creative thinking, employ realistic thinking, just to name a few of the chapters. So we would like to put it out there to you, our audience, that if there is any interest of learning more. We're not sure when this would start or what day it would be, what time. We're just looking for interested parties. So we have a form that you can go to and just fill in your information, your contact information, and we'll be in touch with you. And you can find that form at bit.ly// Soapbox Wisdom Book Club. And, again, it's not making any commitment. It's just letting us know that, I want to know more about this book club and talking about how successful people think, John Maxwell's book. So, go to the link and let us know you're interested in, and we will be in touch.
We will.
Soapbox Wisdom is hosted by brand messaging and storytelling consultant Barbara Menino and business coach and strategist Christine Rothdeutsch. You can find them online at barbaramenino.com and Christine Rothdeutsch